Hey, howdy everyone, Lost City here, back in action for more of these, talking about trans stuff and being trans and all that stuff, and also how not being trans is also part of things. I did want to discuss this after seeing some things last week and whatnot about certain friends and whatnot. So I would like to discuss a very important part that I think a lot of people tend to forget about themselves. And I don't mean it in the sense of just trans stuff. I do mean it in the sense of everything. We're all people. We're all a set amount of people that do certain things, and we're more than just that as well. Like, a person is just an adjective of what it actually is that you are. It's the best way to put it. So, to say some parts, blank is blank. Blank is this, blank is that. Like, for me, you would use, I'm Mexican, I'm a trans woman, I'm a gamer, I'm all these things. They're just adjectives to add on to extra little bit pieces and whatnot. And sometimes it's, like, really fun to, like, get in the mood of going like, oh yeah, like, I fit the gamer stereotype of, like, wanting to do everything super hard, or things like that, or, like, I'm a trans girl, like, I love cat girls, LOL, girls are the best, things like that. It happens. But with all that little mess and whatnot of kind of stereotyping ourselves and generalizing things the way that we are, sometimes we forget that there's more to us than that. And that's something that I just think needs to be discussed more. Like with being trans and whatnot, I feel like there's some sort of obligation to be far more feminine, far more interested in certain things that other trans girls are, and just really get into it. But there are certain things that I just can't. Like, admittedly enough, it always depends on the circles that you're in and whatnot, but for the most part, I will say that a lot of trans girls that I see into cat girls, they love communism and all this and that, and I'm just like, that's not me. I don't like communism. I don't like cat girls in the sense that I want to be a cat girl. Yeah. No, yeah. I'd rather be a dog girl, tell truth. And I think is a far more viable option for trans girls. I mean, think about it this way. A dog girl cat, awoo, anytime. Awoo, I love awooing. I love barking like that. I bark all the time, honestly. It's just a stupid little thing that I like to do. It's very fun for me. And dogs are super affectionate, and trans girls are super affectionate, and they're bigger than they usually think they are, and they want to be petted all the time and such. Just like, it makes sense to me. Why do people not go dog girl instead of cat girl? Boo. That's what I mean, though. It's just like just because I don't share that same ideology and whatnot doesn't make me any less trans, or makes me any less this or that. It's just something that I find kind of cutesy and fun. And that's all these are ever really meant to be. They're just supposed to be cutesy little things like, oh yeah, what if this was this and that was that? And I mention this because sometimes it's not just the stupid things that get to you, that they're just like, hey, I'm not sure if I really had dysphoria. I'm not sure if I really have all these things. I'm not sure if I'm gay or straight or any other situation like that. But I only know my experiences so far. But really, it's just like, then you just don't know. We don't have something to label it. Things like that. Largely just comes down to what you know and what you tried to get to. I mean, you don't have to fit in a perfect square all the time. That's just not how people go. Even with the whole entire gender and such, the spectrum is so freaking large on just a binary scale. I know a lot of people don't like to really talk about the gender spectrum and whatnot, but it's very much a thing. It's like, even if you just subscribe to the two, just the two, not every guy is super, super strong macho man and whatnot, and every girl is like super dainty and whatnot. These are things that we know. There's butch, there's femme, there just is. The bigger problem, of course, relies on the whole entire society getting into these little situations of going like, if they're more feminine, they're bad. If they're more masculine, they're good. We just swole out. Joan of Arc, really great, amazing person out there. Very masculine for her time. But that didn't make her any less of a good person or a good general and things like that. There's various other things that went on about her. there's good things about being feminine too, being nurturing, caring, and all that such. Like, that's a good thing to have as a dad. Like, dads are always persuaded as this sort of like big macho man, like, I care about you, but we're never going to talk about it. And I didn't say I love you until the day I died type of situation. But whenever I think about my dad, I always think loving, caring, and giving a bunch of kisses and whatnot. I'm like, yeah, that's what I did as a kid. I kissed him, you know, like, does you kiss your mom, you kiss your dad, you just like, I'm going to see you later, love you, bye. Things like that. It was a very lovable relationship. Like, it wasn't anything super freaky, like on the lips or anything. That's just like super gross. But it is enough to say that my dad did act out of the norm for this whole entire situation. And I feel like I grew better as a person because he had more quote unquote feminine characteristics of being this very caring person and always wanting the best for me and whatnot. He wasn't super gruff and just like all this and that. He was very lovey-dovey. Sometimes too much. Suffice to say, this whole entire spectrum of things and whatnot, these labels and everything, they're just there. That is, by and large, the biggest thing here, is that they are just a thing that is what you are sometimes. And we only say that's what you are because that's how we were able to label it, and that's how we're able to just make things easier for our brains. That does not necessarily mean that you're always that thing all the time. Like, someone that's pretty all the time, not gonna be pretty 100% of the time. You wake them up on the wrong morning, you get them all kinds of crying, sobbing, not so pretty. It is not gonna be a thing that they're always gonna be 100% of the time. Someone that's super smart and whatnot could have very, very dumb moments. These things happen. It's something that's very important to realize and go back to every now and again, that like, hey, it's okay not to be this way 100% of the time. It's okay not to be happy 100% of the time. It's okay to not be angry at something all the time. If you were, you would be not a healthy person. People that are healthy go through various different emotions and feel different things at various points in time. I don't always feel super trans. I don't always feel super feminine. That's just not something that I have throughout. I feel bad sometimes because I don't feel super femme, but that's just the point. I don't sometimes. I don't know how else to function otherwise. I shouldn't force myself to be super femme any more than I should feel myself to be super masculine. It's just very important to recognize it, and it's very, very hard to keep this sort of balance going in action. When I say these things, it's certainly easy to hear them and go like, yeah, of course, this obviously. But it's harder to keep in practice. Especially considering that your brain does a lot of stupid stuff to you, especially when you think outside the bun and just like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing anything with my life, I'm not going anywhere, not doing this, I'm just a terrible, terrible person. But you can always change that. You always have the ability to change things in your life, no matter how bad it is or how drastic it seems. You could be working at this fast food restaurant place and then one day decide just not to go to Vegas, win it big. You just fool out. You changed your whole entire life in a day just by not going to work that day, going over to Vegas and just spending all your salary on something. Certainly that's a super, super big extreme, but it's an option that literally everyone has. Everybody could do that in some given way, shape, or fashion. They could gamble their life away completely. They could do all these crazy, crazy things that they don't want to do. And I think adults really tend to forget you could buy cake. You could literally buy a cake. You have the money and funds to actually go buy food that you like and eat it. I'm not saying it's financially stable. I am saying that it is something you could do. These are not always good things that you could do. They're not always good things that you keep in tradition with yourself and whatnot, but it's fun and interesting to think about all these side effects and different things that you could do and just keep yourself out of the simple norms. And it's so easy for us to get caught up in the situation too. Just like I go every day to day about doing this, doing that. And it feels like you're stuck in this weird sort of bubble, but you don't have to be in the bubble. You don't have to be in a label bubble. You don't have to be in an actual bubble. You don't have to be in all these little things that we set ourselves up to thinking that this is the way it's got to be. It just is not true. For better or for worse, you can make things different for yourself. It just does not matter. Of course, making it for the better is what everyone generally wants. You want that. That's what you want. It don't happen always. But you can set yourself into a different situation and whatnot. If you're really that bored, if you really can't do anything and just like, ugh, I need to do something different. It's just all these labels that we have to like really get onto and just kind of figure out for ourselves. What do we actually want to be? What do we actually want to recognize and feel about ourselves that make us who we are? I mean, a trans woman is not always just this one adjective thing that you describe somebody as being. You don't have to really say what a trans woman actually is for the most part, aside from just they're a trans woman. I know that's kind of hard to explain, but largely they identify as such a thing and whatnot. Who's to tell you otherwise? I mean, you just, it's not really a big old deal here. If they're like, hey, I'm bi, hey, I'm gay, hey, I'm gender fluid, and all that stuff, unless they ask your opinion about it, it's not really worth it. Like, it just kind of isn't. It's not really going to affect anybody in any particular shape or form. Being gay doesn't really affect anybody in the short term or the long term, anything like that. Being in a relationship, that's different. It's totally different. But saying these labels and being these labels that you are, trying to figure out who you are, is one of the cornerstones to an adulthood. And I always find it really weird that people really get at Tumblr for making all these identities and whatnot that just like, oh, are these like demisexuals, all the new fad thing, and it's got these gray sexuals and whatnot. Like, kids are gonna be kids. They're gonna make dumb, stupid shit. That happens all the time. I'm not saying it's stupid. It's not stupid. A lot of the stuff that Tumblr makes and they do, very, very stupid. I assure you. I agree wholeheartedly as an old fogey myself. But it is so freaking hard to like really get mad at it when you have your own stuff to do. It's so hard to just remember to get angry at things or to get sad about things when you're focusing on something different and you want to focus on it and do it. So sometimes I don't have the time and energy to be femme if I'm busy making these videos. I don't have the time and energy to like be sad about myself if I'm like, I gotta make this new video. I set myself that way because it's easier to deal with than just thinking about something. The less and less you think about actual labels and just going like, yeah, I kind of identify with it. Instead of really going like, I'm not a real Irishman, how am I doing? You set yourself into a progress of failure and torture, and it doesn't really work so well for you. It sucks. I don't like it any bit as anybody else does, but you get into those holes, and as much as you're going to go like, I'm not going to get in that hole, it's going to happen. It happens to everybody. It just does. And it sucks, because it's just like, am I really not being feminine enough? Am I really not putting enough work into my effort? Am I really not doing this or that? I mean, you just kind of have to do it. Do something first and then try to improve it. That's what a rough draft of an essay is. It's supposed to be that. I know a lot of people don't like rough drafting essays, but honestly, it's a very important, vital process to have in everyday life. To just have this sort of situation go like, I'm going to make this, and that, and we're going to do that, and then we're going to figure out how to make this plan a little bit better. Like someone saying that they want to be this big old CEO, boss, and whatnot, they don't always have this plan laid down and everything, but you kind of come up with something. You got to shoot for the star first before you even start going to the realistic goals and whatnot. That's the whole point of making goals. That's the whole point of creating these labels, all these little situations. Like, I'm a trans woman. I want to be feminine. And I set that goal up. I was never really that much of a feminine person, but I'm getting more and more like it. And I really, really love it. I do. I'm not going to be super femme all the time, but I got to set that goal. I got to put that together. I mean, it's not always me. It's not always going to be me, but it just really sucks. It's just like, labels. They're so weird because like you need to have them and at the same time you don't want to have them. That's my whole point. That's my whole thing. I hope it helped everybody. Feel like I went on a big old ramble, but like I said before, gotta put this out, gotta set it there. It's there now. There you go. Right there. Oh. Anyway, thank you all for listening. See y'all next time.